Welcome to the Health Daily Show. I'm your host, Chitra Nabat. Joining us today is Dr. Edmondo Robinson, Chief Digital Officer, Moffit Cancer Center. Edmondo, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Moffit Cancer Center is one of the 30 leading comprehensive cancer centers in the country and recognized globally. Give us a sense of the scope of Moffit and some of the significant challenges at scale you face with this patient population.
Great question. So, Moffit takes care of all cancers, right? So you think about cancer from early detection, even prevention, all the way through to survivorship, the entire scope and scale, including driving research in finding the next solutions and next cures for cancer. So that's what we do. The challenge at scale is, given that we provide the absolute, cutting edge treatments, how do we get that to the entire population? How do we address equity while we're driving that care and driving those cutting edge solutions? That's really the challenge at scale.
Give us a view then on what this means operationally and economically, given this unique patient population and your approach.
So operationally, how do we get access to all the patients that really need our services? How do we, it's not about building just bricks and mortar. How do we leverage digital to really get access to and really get that treatment out to folks? And where are the economics? Where are the payers in meeting us there in terms of getting those treatments out to folks, getting that prevention out to folks, and even getting survivorship out to that population? The economics are not all lined up at this time, and so we have to navigate through that while still achieving our mission to prevent and cure cancer.
So give us maybe an example, both on the operational side, you talked about digital in terms of accessibility, as well as on the economic side in terms of the payers not all lined up. If you can give us an example on each side of that equation, operational as well as economics, in terms of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I'll combine one example. So, increasingly, telehealth is a great way to engage with patients, but it hasn't, outside of the pandemic, it hasn't been consistently supported in terms of reimbursement. So we actually have to check and navigate and see if the patient actually is eligible for the services that we can provide that will allow us to scale more broadly. Additionally, the payers look at, often in cancer care, they look at in one episode of care and not the entire duration of their journey. And that one episode they look at might be more expensive compared to other options, but if they actually had looked at the entire care journey, they realize that overall it's actually cheaper. So because you have a myopic view from those who are paying, you actually don't get the optimal care and the most efficient care for the patients.
So with this dynamic, how do you balance running the business, or running the business versus innovation and changing the business, if you will? With these dynamics, very challenging economic environment for the healthcare industry. I think in cancer care, it's supersized, the headwinds, right? Whether it's the recessionary environment, inflation, the average annual cost of cancer care per patient is $42,000. Inflation, depressed to negative margins.
Yeah.
So how do you balance running the quote unquote business versus innovation and changing improvement?
Yeah, that's our entire business. That's what our entire business is, to balance that, right? So it's delivering care, so we prevent and cure cancer. It's delivering care, but we have to invest and reinvest back into finding those solutions that will cure cancer. It's not just about delivering the care, it's about curing. So we have a large component of what we do is the research side, right? So we leverage grants, of course, federal grants, state grants, and so forth, but also because we're a nonprofit organization, we reinvest all of our kind of clinical dollars back into that research mission to make sure that, again, we're achieving our mission. So that's what we do, and it's a constant balance of managing our capital, managing our investments in our research, managing our investments in some of our innovative therapies.
There are hundreds to thousands of healthcare startups out there, many at this conference, who feel that they've got solutions to be additive to what Moffit does.
Yeah.
What are the specific metrics, attributes you look for when evaluating startups that you want to partner and work with?
Yeah, so it's startups in this space have to be very mature, not in terms of how long they've been in the business, but in terms of how they think about the business. What do I mean by that? So, by definition, startups are focused on a particular solution. I need to solve a broad set of solutions. That startup may be able to solve one of those. At a minimum, recognize that, from my perspective, they're a point solution. and so that they should build their solution into a larger ecosystem, right? It's really important that they understand that they're a point solution from my perspective, and they need to build themselves into a larger ecosystem. If they can come in and have that conversation, and then I can work with them and figure out where they fit in the ecosystem. If they don't understand that component, it's not worth the conversation.
Can you give an example just to bring that to life a little bit more?
So, there's a company might come in. I don't want to throw any companies on this, so I'll just make up a solution. A company might come in and say, hey, you have a problem with your rev cycle. I think we can solve this component of your rev cycle. I think I can solve the interaction between the payers and you, and I can fix that piece. And it's gonna cost this much of an IT lift, and it's gonna change all these processes. But my rev cycle has like 27 steps. They're trying to solve one step. Great, but why would I invest that much resource into solving that one step? I've got 26 other steps that also need to be solved. So at least recognize that you are a tiny component of what we do, and then we can have a conversation about whether or not I still might invest in that, but I can't invest in that if you don't recognize that you're not solving my whole problem.
Edmondo, leadership. In career, business life, there are codes, norms, rules to how things are done.
Oh yeah.
Where have you been a code breaker in life or business, and how did you do it?
I my entire career, I've been a code breaker. One of my titles was Chief Transformation Officer in the past, so it's kind of what I do. There's a couple things that I do very purposefully. So one is I mentor women leaders. I do that very purposefully. I am the executive, for example, at Moffit, I'm the executive sponsor of our Women in Oncology leadership group. The other thing that I do is I really think about my leadership team, the folks that report to me, and I make sure that I find the best and the brightest in a very diverse way, right? I'm very purposeful about that. And so there's things that I can do. I can't solve the entire world, but there's certain things that I can do within my sphere of influence, and I absolutely do that. I lead by example when it comes to increasing the diversity around our leadership teams, because my team is stronger for it, and I feel very strongly about that.
Edmondo, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you.